My name is Alex. I have an Instagram and also a YouTube Love Sugar Show. So, want to invite you both for doing the interview, and thank you for taking your time as well.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for putting this together. We appreciate it.
No problem. I love doing this, so it's always a pleasure. Also, I have to say, happy release day. How do you guys feel about that?
Relieved.
Yeah.
Honestly, we've this EP in particular, we've been working on off and on since 2021. So, it's definitely a huge burden lifted to have that finally out in the world for sure.
Yeah. Everything we've done to date has taken way too long, and we keep saying, "No, not this time, not this time," and whatever. But I don't know. I think we broke the curse with this one finally. So
Well, that's
You,
awesome.
you just jinxed it by saying that.
yeah, well, whatever.
Well, the second question, I guess, now is how's everything going in your world today? Not just musically, but also in your personal lives as well, because that's important.
Thank you for asking. Personally, I don't have too much to report, not too much to complain about either, thankfully. Um, I'm healthy. My family is healthy and happy. So, you can't really ask for too much else, except maybe, a couple $1 million and a different president. But, I may be asking for too much. So, uh,
I'm good for that money too.
yeah, musically, like we just said, we just put out this new EP we've been working on for a while. Um, and that feels good. Uh, we have a second LP in the works, and I think that's about like 60 to 70% done, I would say. I think that's a fair assessment. Um,
We haven't
and the
written a
goal,
word yet.
that's the 10%.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
um, yeah, I think we're aiming to get that done by the end of the year. Wishful thinking, of course,
Yeah.
and hopefully out by first quarter of 2027 if, you know, everything works in our favor.
Yeah.
Um, And then I guess the other thing for me musically is that I have a solo EP that I recorded a few months ago, and I'm just waiting on some cover art to be finished for that. And once I have that in hand, I'm gonna throw it up on the internet. But yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. I same thing. Nothing dramatic happened today. Nothing fell apart, so everything's good, The worked all day. How many interviews did you do today, Alex?
I think this is the fourth one today.
Yeah. I mean,
Jesus,
yeah.
I
So,
don't even talk to four people throughout the week.
yeah. Well,
God,
it's funny because we work, because with Ear Split, we're constantly setting everything up. So Alex jumps and does days like this where, yeah, she'll talk to five or six of our bands like kind of in a row or throughout an entire day. So yeah, I don't know how you
that's
do it. I
impressive.
mean, but yeah, it's fun doing it.
It is. I really enjoy it. So I do want to get into this EP, and I did listen to it. I think it's very different, and I think that's something that you need in a world where everything kind of sounds the same. So I'm curious of the creative process, how it all came together, and how we got here.
Yeah, so um, for this EP in particular, it was kind of an accident. While we were working on the first record in around 2021, I just had the itch to record something. Uh, I
Hmm.
wanted to do a long form improvisational guitar track um, with no intention to use it for anything, not for diminishing, not for any project for that matter. So one day I just got bored and I picked out a couple of chords beforehand to play with, which was all the pre-planning involved, really. And I just went into my office in here and yeah, just hit record and just went with the vibe. And what you hear on the EP, all the guitars, that's all just one take.
Oh, wow.
Complete, yeah, all one take, just me, just vibing. um, So yeah, like I said, I didn't have any intention to use it for anything. Eventually, I did share it with Dave, and he wanted to use it for diminishing. So I was down. I wasn't going to do anything with it.
I don't
So
even remember at that point if we had the band name yet because we
I don't
started
think
this
we did.
project as like yeah, we were like Lane was still doing this project called Feel Happiness when we started this thing. It was supposed to be we did a split together and then we were going to do this collaboration. And during that time, Lane like folded up shop on his project. So I was like, what are we going to call this? Like, you know, we just all of a sudden it was like this lost and then we decided to start a new project together anyway. So this whole thing was all coming together at once, and then we had like a finished record and no band name for I don't even know like a year or 2 years or
It
some
was, yeah,
ridiculous shit.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, so we're like, well, we have this whole record and all this shit, but what is it? What are we even calling this thing? Like we just didn't even know. So yeah, like I don't even remember at what stage of that this came together. But so this has been sitting for yeah, like what a record our other record came out what 2023, right? And you did this in
yeah.
2021, I think. So yeah, I mean this thing's
Mhm.
been sitting around really forever, and then we finally only started heavily working on it like last year, I think, to like complete it. So
Yeah, yeah. Like around last year, that's when you sent me this cool, the bass and synth stuff that you did that kind of really fleshed out the track and really gave it what it needed musically. And I
yeah,
think I think I went through like several different lyrical ideas before I landed on the one I used over the
yeah,
years. And yeah, I think I recorded vocals last June, and I think you did your
right
stuff a
afterwards.
few months after that.
Oh,
So when we finally link up, we stuff gets done pretty quickly, but it just takes us forever to actually do that.
yeah.
Well, that's okay. Sometimes, the best things come to those who wait. So,
Right.
Yeah, but it's not waiting. It's like it's not aging like fine wine. It's like, it's just it's just clogging up your hard drive for longer. And yeah, it becomes this creative backlog or whatever, and you just see it sitting there unfinished. It kind of grates on you, just like I wish that shit was just done and out so you can work on the next thing, because you know. So yeah, we're not making it sound very very glamorous, but yeah, it's when we get in the mode, he's in Texas and I'm up here in New York, so it's like we don't, we're not in the same room doing any of this shit. So every now and then we have a Zoom or something, but like, everything is done remotely. So, one of us gets in a creative spurt and sends a bunch of stuff, and then it's like, okay, I'll get right on this, and then it's like crickets for 6 months, and the other person hits back. It
it
gets
happens
done.
sometimes.
Yeah, it's glacial.
So, for someone who hasn't heard this, which I'm assuming is a lot of people unless they listened to it today when it came out, how would you describe that to them?
It's I don't know. It's dark ambient drone. I'm not sure which. I don't know. I don't really like
Maximalist dark
it,
ambient.
but yeah, it's not like incredibly unique either. It's kind of ilk of a lot of our influences in the in those realms and whatever, and just a very sort of free form, very dark, harsh project. There's I don't know Lane like in with my band Grid Failure, it's the same thing. It's another very dark, demoralizing project, but it's got less focus. It's like all over so many different genres and everything, but just all very demoralizing and everything. But Lane has a very specific direction that he kind of uh, feeds this thing, and has like a lot more, I guess, vocal range with like cleaner vocals and things that I can pull off, and centers this one a lot more, in a specific direction. I don't know if that helps decipher it at all, but yeah, it's there's like it, for those who don't listen to heavy, you know, dark ambient and post industrial and noise and drone and that kind of stuff. Imagine like a, a a very deconstructed version of like Nine Inch Nails, downward spiral without any with very minimal beats or anything else. It's just that harshness that and I think that's a lot of what Lane adds to it with his approach to everything.
For sure. I don't know. When I listened to it, I was thinking like Silent Hill vibes when I was listening to
Yeah,
it because it kind of has that feel to
Yes.
it.
Yes. Thank you.
yeah, that's awesome. It's a lot of this that sort of stuff draws comparisons to people, for gamers and horror movies and things like that, rather than musical direction. You know what I mean? It's so deconstructed and out there for most people. It's like patience testing for most even like extreme music fans. Because there isn't
Mhm.
Yeah.
always a steady beat or anything driving, and so if there's a BPM, it's like barely double digits.
Yeah. I think we're inspired by both like all those genres he mentioned and then also, you know, film scores a lot, you
Yeah,
know, just less focused on traditional structure and more about establishing a mood, I think,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
So, what kind of atmosphere were you trying to create with this album?
Uh with the very intense and emotional lyrics, just something to complement that, you know. Like I said, it was improvisational, so we didn't know what to do with it. So, and I wasn't in any kind of particular headspace when I did that. But after listening to it, I kind of, and dealing with some stuff that I touch upon on the record, I kind of, I guess, imposed my feelings onto the track. So when I eventually, we added more instrumentation to it and added my own vocals, the mood kind of changed with that. So I think the mood kind of dictated itself. The track like constructed its own mood in that sense, and not so much us, if that makes sense. Um, but to answer your question, I think the mood is just that deep sinking feeling, you know, when you're faced, just like the song we did. I know. Uh, the deep sinking feeling when you're faced with something, really stressful and heartbreaking.
Yeah, I feel like everyone can really relate to that because we've all been through some shit
Yeah,
at
Right.
one point.
yeah. Like with the album, uh, Lane and I think kind of split half and half on the songwriting and lyrics and everything on that. And then this one, yeah, like you said, I did vocals and synth and bass and whatever else, some other stuff on there, probably percussion or something. But Lane wrote the entire lyrical concept. It was his initial guitar drone, like a 24-minute drone that is the core of like the base of the song.
Hmm.
So literally everything I did on this was just fleshing it out to that. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like, I think on the first record we sort of developed or found our sound, so to speak, and then this is more of like flexing it a little bit. It's not an album. It was like a one take thing, but we, kind of broke it up when he came up with the concept and everything else. We weren't going to have song titles and everything because you're not supposed to listen to track one. It's track one's like the intro, basically. It's one track. We just broke it up for Bandcamp so we could release a song and kind of
Hmm.
build it up a little bit and everything else. And and it was better for Dan at Anticorp who put the record out. He with his distribution and everything else, he wanted to see how something like this would work, against some of the other stuff he does, and have multiple songs to be able to submit to things. So we broke the one single 24-minute track into these four chapters, but they're just part one through four. That's why they're not, labeled with additional titles or anything else. They're all one movement. He just, I remember Lane, you had written lyrics once or twice at least and had them up in the thing where I was like, I got to get them, got to get, whatever to do vocals. And then every time I'd go, you'd be like, I scrapped that. doing something else. I'm like, all right, cool, then I'll wait. And then like that's one of the things that happens, you know what I mean? That will be like in the mood on something, and then, someone's not feeling it, like, why spend time doing it if you're not feeling it? Get that right first, and then, and then make it happen. So yeah, once the lyrics are written, it was, I pretty much just mirrored, he had done vocals first, and then I just kind of mirrored and weld and walled around him, and everything else. So it was, the whole concept of this thing was him until we got to, more like the artwork and stuff like that together. But yeah, it's that's why it's definitely got I think Lane's spin, like his, sound or whatever is very
Mhm.
like found, like, present on this, because it's all him.
Well, I think, like I said, I think it's very unique. And when I listened to it, I definitely thought like Silent Hill. And I'm like, maybe it's just me, but when I'm having a terrible day, I like listening to angry songs. This album would be a perfect one because it makes you feel better. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the misery loves company sort of thing. Like, at least someone else is having a shitty day too. Like, somebody wasn't in a good mood when they wrote this song. It's, yeah, you it's not misery loves company specifically. Like, you're glad someone else is having a shitty day too. But yeah, it just makes you feel a little, like I'm not the only one. So it's, yeah, it's like you said. It's, I'm not gonna have a, come back from almost getting killed in some, idiot road rage accident and come back and like listen to like, whatever, Seals and Crofts or something, right in the side inside the door. You know what I mean? You're only gonna,
Yeah.
put on something with a little bit more of a beat down to it. Like,
And we see Elaine smiling. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I just picturing you almost getting into an accident and then put on a hate breed, and I think that's
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
So,
No, it's probably more like Seals and Crofts. A lot more Tommy Guerrero over here these days than Hey Priest.
so the title to this is called The Outcome. What does that mean for you personally?
Yeah, so I'll just delve into the theme of the record a little bit. So the outcome deals with anticipatory grief and people's unhealthy reactions to the impending passing of a loved one. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously, if you're well adjusted, this probably doesn't apply to you. But anyway, so over the last few years, unfortunately, myself and some other people in my close circle and their families have had to face the reality of a family member who's in decline. Um, Obviously, that's a stressful and heartbreaking situation for anyone. Um, but this EP in particular speaks on the ways that some people could make that situation harder on themselves and others, at least when they're initially confronted with this situation. Um, so, like, I've seen family members in my own family and other people's families lash out at one another and blame each other for not being there enough, not doing enough, all these things, arguing over who gets what in the will, all these nasty things. And
Yeah.
so, and I've seen people, including myself, honestly, kind of turn inward and, you know, initially manufacture all this self guilt and, self pity stuff you shouldn't do because it's, unrealistic and unrealistic expectation upon yourself. But it's something that some people just do naturally, at least when they're initially, hit with this bad news, you know what I mean? Um, so throughout the track, I kind of detail all these intense thoughts and feelings and kind of wallow in them a little bit. But at the end of the track, I make a point to call out the contradiction in behaving and feeling in this way.
Hmm.
In the last line, I say, does self pity buy us more time? No, this was always meant to be the outcome. What I'm saying is that at some point in your life, you'll probably find yourself in a variation of this kind of situation. So by spending all of this energy beating yourself up and lamenting this perceived loss of time, you are actually sabotaging yourself from the time you could have left with this person.
Yeah, that is so deep. I love that.
Yeah, and it's hard to do because when you're swept up in all these intense emotions, it's just very difficult to take a step back a lot of the time and kind of readjust yourself. Um, the brain and the heart, they battle all the time, and I feel like that's that's been a consistent theme between our first record and this EP. Is just that contradiction in human nature and how we treat ourselves and how we're a lot of the time our own worst enemy.
I know being human is just so difficult, complicated.
Putting
That's
it
a
lightly, for
very
sure.
There's a very nice when I was talking before about Lane's style and approach and everything, sort of contrasting how everything just kind of comes out of me. We both think in a lot of the same terms, musically or sound wise or mood wise or whatever, but he's definitely much more, um, really much better and poetic at being existential with within the human mind, within the human construct and the family dynamic and heart feelings, everything. I'm pretty one trick pony. Like I write a lot of whack creative shit, but it's all like pissed off. It's all like pointing the finger, looking at whatever. Lane's really good at looking in and talk, bringing up, yeah, like you said, deep personal sort of emotions more than that. I'm more, it's so that's what helps direct a lot of this and give it a more emotional edge over the stuff that I do or whatever else and keeps it in a kind of a core thing is that sort of thought and delivery that he puts into those, very personal projects. So I can, easily expand off of something like that once lyrics are partly written or we have a title or an idea or something like that. It gives me something else to just kind of think about in a different way than when I'm doing the solo prod, everything on with my own project. So it's like it's very cool to have this sort of, you know, more focused direction on things and still leave it very pliable to wherever it could go from there. But they're yeah, all the lyrics are very deep and personal, and that I think that adds a major dimension to how all this comes together.
Yeah, and I think it's cool you guys are very like balanced because you're not like that, but he is. So it kind of like balances it out. So I think that's pretty cool.
There's no competition here.
It's all even.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have just very different approaches to things, but they complement each other really well. You know, so
Yeah,
I'm thankful for that. We don't.
we don't really butt heads. We
No.
discuss things and go back and forth. And if one person's not 110 on it, like it's just not happening. We just don't fixate on it. We just kind of figure out what to do. So we're both cool with everything that happens. The very besides the half the country distance or whatever, and both of us being just super busy with family and house and everything else stuff. It's a cool project to when we do have time. I think we both really enjoy putting these like, taking something to do with all that baggage and tension and, whatever you have in your life and, kind of molding it into something, be, a punching bag or whatever this, is that we make, you know what I mean? It's kind of a more like a therapy session or something than, songcraft.
Right. Yeah.
Not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
So what's something that you discovered about yourself while making this album? I know we're going like really deep and personal in this one.
No, no, it's cool. I like it. I think it's with the lyrics for this one, it's kind of pivoting off of what we did on the last record too, where, I had inklings of thoughts about the human condition and how we, you know, contradict ourselves. We have intense feelings and emotions about things, but then our actions don't line up. And I've definitely noticed that in myself. I'm sure we all have. So I just took the time when I wrote lyrics for both these releases and learned that a lot about myself is that, like, you know, I am also this person that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? We are all this person a lot of the time. That we're just contradictory animals at the end of the day. You know,
Very true. I feel that
Yeah.
personally. Like you said, we all have a bit of that in us, I think.
Yeah. I don't know that I necessarily had any kind of deep inner reflection or thought if I learned anything different about myself or whatever while making it, but it definitely like the process of it definitely reinforced what we were trying to do with this project, and definitely reinforced everything that how scatterbrained everything else it was pulling the first record together. It definitely let me know that we now have more of a defined direction, sound, mood, whatever, and that we've learned through that first record process and the videos, everything we've done with it, uh, that we have a good way of working together. Because, like, again, going back, besides the time constraints and the lost time between sessions and everything, we work very well together. So that I definitely learned that. We knew that before working together for so long on so many different things before even recording records together. But it definitely reinforced, you know what I mean, like Lane and I's
Mm.
just connection and everything else. So I see more of, like, I found out more about our band.
Well, that's always good too.
Yeah.
So, last question here. What do you hope listeners take away when they listen to this?
Take it to the next family reunion. Like, get it, just put it out there first before any of this shit happens. Be like, see, if you guys keep this shit up, this is how it's going to end up. You know?
you'll be in a really bad noise project too if you keep this up.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
I,
That's exactly right, Joe.
I, I just hope people give it a chance. If they're already into the dark ambient noise, experimental, industrial, whatever, any of that stuff. I just hope they give it a chance and give us their time, and just hope they can get something out of it.
And
we
if
we don't.
not, check it out anyway. Because, yeah, like you said, actually, you, it invokes something. All music should invoke things. I mean, obviously, people aren't going to just like everything that comes out. People have their tastes, and even within genres you don't like every band, and but people should just always be exploratory. With their not just music, but just all art. Don't be like, well, I only like. It's like saying you only like one cuisine. It's like,
Yeah.
why be like, I'm a death metal guy, like I can't listen to hip hop and jazz. It's like, listen to everything. You don't listen to all jazz bands. There's plenty of dog shit too, but, like, find what you like and listen to it, and do that with, like, every genre, and always be open to hear something new. That's kind of it's fun to get together with the boys every Tuesday and hammer out the set for 2 hours or something. It's fun to do that and create that way. But you know, allowing yourself to, take in something that you're not used to is, for me, it's one of the most rewarding things there is about music. You can never hit the wall on anything. Any genre you dig into, there's an endless, void of, possibilities there. So that's where we lie, in the endless void of possibilities.
Very, very true. Well, I will let you guys let everyone know where to get it, where they can keep up to date on the band, and where they should grab a copy of this. Because, like you said, even if you don't think it might not be for you, just try it out. Worst case scenario, you don't like it.
Yeah, yeah, it's everywhere. It's we have a band camp, diminishing band camp, where we have merch and everything else. But this Dan at Anticorp Music, he has this actually in full digital distribution with his deal. So it's everywhere. I mean, it's you can stream it literally every platform. But if you go to Anticorp Music's website, there's now an artist page for us or whatever. You can find the first record as well on tape. Uh, we have that on Bandcamp too, right? I think yeah, we have shirts. Yeah, we have it all.
We'll have laser discs soon too.
Yeah. We're gonna press 12 VHS copies of this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's streaming everywhere. YouTube, all the usual suspects. Don't go to Spotify though. Let's listen to anywhere else.
Yes, please do. Like Bandcamp, I heard is a really good place. When you said tape, do you mean like the cassette tapes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That is,
not of this record. We didn't make anything physical for this record, but yeah, the the our first record from 2023 uh is what did we make? 80 tapes or something like that, somewhere in that range, I
Yeah,
think.
something like that.
Yeah, shirts and everything else. So yeah, we'll probably do tapes. It's nice to have, like, I still love tapes and I love all physical media, but vinyl's my favorite, but it's also, for the price of a vinyl pressing, like Lane and I could probably both own jet skis instead of sitting on closets full of records. So
Yeah.
we just can't go there. Maybe after this record gives us a little bit of street cred, we'll press vinyl. But
well, let's get them some street cred so we can help them out.
you heard it.
Yes,
Listen to
please.
And I'll leave everything down below in the description box so it makes it really easy for everyone. If you want to take a listen, just click on it, it'll take you right there.